Hey everyone, this is Don Reimel. I'm glad that you've joined this stream. Is everyone able to hear me okay? I'm going to go ahead and get started. So this stream is about why we decided to do a YouTube channel. And we decided to do a YouTube channel because of we wanted to get more involved in the community and also kind of share our experiences. So when we talk about nomadic experiences, we're talking about, how much we travel and do things. But one of the main ways we do that is through our RV. And we do that, and we bought that RV this past year. Why we're doing this nomadic experience is because we've been nomads most of our lives. We've traveled all over the place, and at this stage of our life, we want to be able to do more of it and then share those experiences. The real reason we wanted to do this is we wanted to live in the life of intentionally, right? So we could stay in a house and do the traditional things, but we've never really done that. But we chose to be living more of an intentional life, to choose what we want to do and how we do it. We have children that are in another part of the country, in middle central Florida, and what we want to do is be able to go visit them, or visit parents, or visit family, or visit the great places of this country. The other reason we wanted to do the channel was there are just so many different ways of living this nomadic lifestyle, right? So we've chosen to live in a Class A, but beyond that, there's Class Bs, Class Cs, Super Cs, schoolies, travel trailers, van life, and a multitude of different ways to do it. And with as many different styles of travel there are, or fifth wheels, with the number of ways of traveling, there are so many different manufacturers over time that you can have all kinds of different ways of living it. So what we want to do with our channel is also share that at the end of the day, there are a lot of different ways of doing things, but they tend to be similar. So what we want to do is share that with the community. What we also want to do is show that while living intentionally is important, we only have one version of it, which is living a nomadic style. And that what we want to do is for people who watch our channels to be able to come out and look and go, hey, I'm not real satisfied with what I'm doing right here and what I'm getting out of it, or part of what I'm doing, and say, hey, you know what, you don't need to live in a box. You have the ability of living life differently. And through time, you'll hear more of our story about how before we had the RV, that we didn't live a traditional life most of the time anyways. The other thing to consider out of that is we want to document our journey, right? So, and maybe leave some legacy out of it. And so with that, we're going to record what we do, how we do it, and then through that also share with what we've learned over it, so that others who want to understand a point of view will be able to do that. And learning is a very important thing for us. We kind of structure our lives around learning. Our two oldest sons who are now currently in their own professions, graduated college in the last several years, we homeschooled them. And one of the things that we chose to do that was just to be able to give them a much greater ability to experience life and experience things differently. And then the other thing we look at doing is enriching our community that we're a part of. So for us, it has been real critical to see how, to give back to the community that has given so much to us. And what we mean by that is a short story. So a year ago this week, we went to go see some YouTubers in Foley, Alabama. And it happened to be Kyle and Olivia Brady of Driving and Vibing. And while we went to go see them, there was another couple there, Tom and Kate Morton from Morton's on the Move. And so we got to meet them. We weren't in the position yet of figuring we're going to go full time. We'd been looking at it for a while. And through that interaction of a couple of 5- and 10-minute conversations, it sparked our desire to move forward on it. And so what we hope out of this is that we also hope that through this we can provide inspiration through just the common things we do. So I've seen we've got a couple of people here on the live stream. Where are you guys at right now? If you could just post it in the comments, I'd like to see it. Hey Vicki, I'm glad you joined the chat. Tuvers, hey Evans, I see that you're on. And appreciate, Neva, you joining the chat. So to summarize it, so why did we start a YouTube channel beyond that? And why today do this live stream? Well, one of the real reasons is that I was looking at setting things up with our so be able to help build and support the community. So maybe it's helpful to understand why we chose to call our name Our Nomadic Story, and what, why nomadic or why nomad, right? And so if you look at the dictionary, a nomad is an individual who roams about, and we're absolutely those type people. While we've lived in traditional bricks and sticks locations in Florida and Virginia and so forth, we've also traveled widely. Our sons, when they were very young, got to live for 6 months in Germany. We've traveled all over the place. My job has had a lot of travel with it. And so one of the things to keep in mind is when we look at us being nomads, as a family with members in our family, we've traveled as far north as to Denmark, Billen, Denmark, which happens to be where Legoland, the first Legoland was. I've been as far south as Panama, far as east as the United Arab Emirates, and as far west as Hawaii. So we've had a pretty broad area of the world that we've gone to, and we love traveling, learning new cultures, and so forth. For example, Neva actually did, as a senior in college, she did an internship or an exchange program with Brighton, England, and it was an incredible experience that I got to share a little bit in while she did that. And then, what types of modes of travel are we going to address in this channel? And what we're going to address in the channel is things mostly around the RV. That's our primary mode of transportation. But we're also going to discuss our road trips, air travel, cruises, and then other forms of travel if it occurs. This year alone, we've already had a cruise for my father's 80th birthday to the Caribbean. I've already had several road trips, and we've also traveled in the RV, and we're actually traveling again next week. We're going to go to Vortex Springs, and then we're also going to head over to Gulf State Park for some time. So what we want to make sure you understand is that if you come to this channel, it's not just going to be about RVing, it's about a nomadic lifestyle, and the RV is going to be our most prevalent form of transportation. So, so kind of just in summary on that. So as it relates to, we've talked about what we're going to do for why we're doing it. The next piece comes into is kind of what is our mission statement. And so our mission statement basically is to inspire others to live life intentionally through sharing our experiences and information. And what I mean by information is everything that's beyond just the experience, from the research we do to where we go, what we find works, what we find doesn't work, and never in the intent of saying this is the only way to do it. By far, the furthest thing could be true from that. What we want to do is share with, here's our viewpoint, here's our point in time. Use that so you can make your decisions. So that's the real important thing here. So just because we're going to Vortex Springs doesn't mean you should go there, but you'll be able to see what we see and what we experience, and then you can use that as a decision that if you happen to be going by the area, you want to make a trip to it, you have the ability to do that. So it comes down to, how do we plan to do this, right? How do we plan to communicate with our channel? And it comes down to really three main things. We want to first share. We want to be able to inform, with all in the hope that we can inspire. And as you can see behind me right now, you'll see trinkets and items from various different people. You'll see, you'll see the shirt from the Mortons. You'll see over here, you'll see the shirt from Drivin' and Vibin'. And you'll see other things which have been real important to us over time. And what we want to do is, for these people and many others have inspired us, we want to get to the position of being able to hopefully inspire others. So what we want to do with our sharing is we want to share our genuine story. So while we want to, as much as possible, live a life that's, without trouble and perfect and sunny every day, we're going to share a story when things are good and when things are normal and when things have struggles with them. But anytime that we talk about the struggles, what we want to do is present it in a fashion that is helpful and helpful in your life. So, you know, if we get a flat tire and we figure out that, you know, someone services us to help us out and we figure out, you know, a good place to get the tire fixed, well, we want to share that. What we don't want to do is dwell on the fact is it really just stunk that the tire blew out or whatever. So, so the sharing is real important to us, to tell our story, to be able to share their experiences, but also what we learn on the way. Then the second way we plan to do things is to inform. And what we want to do is inform in a couple of categories. What we want to do is inform with what we do from a travel perspective, like the locations and the routes that we go, and what we see in the case might be in the, you know, going on. You know, how did weather impact us? What was the crowds? You know, the overall experience with it. The second thing we want to do is relative to it is just share the information on nomadic living. And so that can come down to simple things like, how do I sanitize my freshwater tank, to how do I maintain my batteries, to any of those type things. You know, how do I get cellular signal? How do I get to be able to broadcast or whatever? And then finally of it, what we want to do is be able to, as being a digital nomad, also kind of share content creation. And what we want to do that is in the context of being a nomad, right? So my studio right here in the middle of our RV is pretty small and is a little more challenging than if we had, you know, a home office or doing it that way. You know, the equipment needs to address different things. Like, as of 40 minutes before this broadcast, it was pouring hard and I was getting a lot of rain sound on the roof on it. So what we want to do is look at how we can share our experience with content creation, but also encourage content creation, not necessarily for business purposes, but for you to be able to share your story, right? Because as you know, human beings, one of the critical elements of our existence is storytelling, is telling the stories from generation to generation. So not to get all high and spiritual on it and so forth, but to focus on the fact is that, you know, everyone's story matters and has some aspect that someone else will gain inspiration from. So even in your successes, you can provide inspiration, but also if you look at, you know, things that you struggle with along the way, you know, that might seem sort of mundane to you, maybe even a nuisance, it may actually address something that someone else is dealing with or also inspire them. So what we want to do is along the way is be able to help others share content, if that is, you know, just posting pictures on Instagram, doing YouTube, blogging on a website and so forth like that. So what we want to do is be a resource, not from a state position of, you know, providing education, but basically providing information and inspiration. That's our hope. And then finally, if we do all those things and we can share information or share our story in a manner that can be consumed by people, then what we hope for is to inspire someone. We've had probably 40 people in the last 2 or 3 years who have inspired us. And so what we want to do is be able to turn that around and also hopefully inspire someone else. Basically give back to what we were given along the journey. So then it comes down to what is the content that we want to be able to create and provide. Well, basically we've categorized it into basically 4 different categories. And so what we want to do is be able to also focus on community. And that community is through the interactions like these live sessions, interactions with other groups like escapers, and so forth. but also in the sense of being able to look at how we can use the community, support the community, and grow the community through items of like collaboration. So as we are looking at things such as, going to a particular destination, and we want to be able to share the fact of maybe how a travel trailer or a fifth wheel or a trekker van would better be suited for it. What we want to do is reach out to those people that are in the community that have those experiences and be able to build upon that. What we want to do is we mostly want to focus on two platforms, right? Or two styles of communication. One is video, and YouTube's going to be the destination for that, for the majority of it. What we may do is take snippets of the content we create and post it through Instagram or through Twitter or so forth. But the focus is to be able to have YouTube be our repository, our location for it. And then finally, what we want to do is have written content. So for many of the videos that we put together, we're looking to have written content also, so for those people who consume it differently. So we have a website. You can find it on the YouTube page. I'll put comments after this live video is out to say where those locations are. But the simple way to find us is it's the same brand across everything. It's Our Nomadic Story. And so you'll be able to go look there. So it's www.ournomadicstory.com. All our social media is also referenced by Our Nomadic Story. So that basically comes down to what we wanted to share in this stream, is to kind of say why we want to do this. And to be honest, we've recently had spent some time with some other YouTubers, people who generate YouTube content, I should say. They're not YouTubers. And it was interesting for them to ask a question on why do we want to create content. And I thought it was a very good question. And so it gave me a lot of food for thought to be able to look at this and say, let's share why we want to do it. And most of all, it's for us to be able to share and engage in our community. So with that, it's mostly what I wanted to share on this live stream. But now I'd like to see who happens to be on and see if there's anything I can answer or address on this. Well, Vicki, those are some nice things you have to say. Cool. So you'll be in Colorado for the Escapers event. Yeah, so one of the things that I didn't share as much with is that we're kind of right now in the state of having a little less mobility. I mentioned in the beginning, Neva is provides primary care for a parent. So what we do is we look at for opportunities where we're able to get some coverage and be able to do things. But in the meantime, we're looking at how we can also learn and become better experienced with the RV. While we're here in the Pensacola area, one of the things that we looked at doing to be a little different than, live a little more intentionally is, we knew we needed to care for the parent, and so we built basically a one-site RV park, which I jokingly in social media refer to as Nano RV Park. So it has a concrete pad. It has a RV-style power pedestal, water, and sewer hookup. So while we're here, we're living in the RV and gaining experience on it. Hey Brian, how you doing out there, man? You're traveling a lot more than we are right now, watching your social media, but looking forward to be able to share our stories. Are there any questions you have out of this this presentation. Yeah, Vicky, it's not an uncommon story of supporting our parents. I'm actually appreciative to see how many people actually do it in our society, and I have a great respect for it. I can tell you that my mother and aunt did it for my grandmother, and so Neva's parents also supported theirs. I see Neva's talking in the chat, and I'm glad she's doing that. Yeah, so right now, Brian, we're in Florida, but we might be doing something interesting to go to Alaska, but that's not necessarily a traditional way because that's how we roll. So we're going to see how that all shakes out and maybe discuss more of it in the near future. What I can guarantee you is we're not going to be taking our Class A to make that trip at this point. To be honest with you, if we were going to do it, we're getting to the point, but from Florida, it's a bit too late in the season to get up there because for those folks that are already kind of near the border, we'd already be couple thousand miles away before we would even be up to the border. So, any questions? Okay. Well, I'm not gonna drag this out, but what I like to say is, I really appreciate the people who jumped on for this first live stream. I'll have to say it's been nerve-wracking and challenging with trying to deal with all the different technology and piece parts that are in play here. But it was a great learning experience, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time to jump on, make a couple of statements, and I appreciate you guys joining the broadcast or the live stream. So the only thing I'll have to say is